This video was brought to you by Skillshare. The French legislative election campaign is well underway. In fact, the first round of the snap vote is in just over a week, and polling continues to show that France is on course for a major shift in its parliamentary makeup, with the far-right National Rally out in front and a new left-wing alliance in second, and President Macron's alliance falling to a distant third. Now, they all have very different visions for France, so in this video we're going to explain the plans proposed by each of the alliances, going through them in order by their polling position. Before we get into it, we recently announced that we're launching a physical magazine which will feature major articles on things like the snap French election and the rise of the right in Europe. So if you want to support our journalism, consider learning more and buying a copy by clicking the link in the description. Let's start with the National Rally, which is hoping to make Marine Le Pen's 28-year-old protege Jordan Bardella Prime Minister. Now, National Rally haven't actually published a full manifesto at the time of writing, but we can still get a good idea of what their programme might look like based on what the party have said so far, its one-page policy leaflet, and the plans that they campaigned on in the 2022 elections. Anyway, let's start with migration, which is probably what the National Rally are best known for, where the party pledges to drastically reduce legal and illegal immigration and expel foreign offenders. In 2022, the National Rally campaigned on scrapping birthright citizenship, ending family reunification rights, tightening residency permits, limiting migrants' access to social services and benefits, implementing a national priority for access to social housing and employment, and only processing asylum applications abroad. On law, order and security, the National Rally want to reinstate minimum penalties for drugs and a tax on persons with public authority, as well as planning to remove family allowances for the parents of repeat juvenile offenders. The party has also long called for the presumption of legitimate self-defense for police officers involved in cases of alleged police violence. Interestingly, Bardella has walked back the party's plan to ban the wearing of the Islamic veil in public, saying that it remains an objective but won't be done before the 2027 presidential election. Another National Rally priority is boosting purchasing power. Now, the headline pledge here is to lower the VAT paid on electricity, gas and fuel from 20% to 5.5%, while further aiming to reduce bills by negotiating an exemption from the European electricity market. On wages, the National Rally also wants to encourage companies to grant 10% raises by offering exemptions to employer contributions. And they would also scrap Macron's unemployment insurance reform. On pensions, the National Rally opposed President Macron's pension reform that raised the retirement age from 62 to 64, but Bardella has said that reversing the law won't be an immediate priority, with it instead being something for a second phase after an audit of the state accounts. In terms of state institutions, Bardella has confirmed the party's long-term aim of privatizing French public television and radio, and at the last election, the party also campaigned on introducing proportional representation and a citizen initiative referendum mechanism. Okay, so let's move to the next party, the New Popular Front, an alliance of the far-left to centre-left opposition parties currently polling in second place. Fortunately, the Popular Front have actually published a 24-page manifesto packed with policies and are vowing a total break from the policies of President Macron. The Popular Front wants to reverse Macron's pension reforms with an ultimate objective of actually lowering the retirement age further to 60 and index pensions to wages. They also want to impose price controls on various essential goods, including food, energy, and fuel, raise the minimum wage by about 15% to €2,000 a month, drastically increase civil servant salaries, massively increase both housing and disability benefits, cancel the scheduled increase in gas prices, and scrap Macron's unemployment insurance reforms. To raise the money required, the Popular Front wants to increase taxes on the highest earners, establish a wealth tax, progressivize income and inheritance taxes, and re-establish the exit tax on wealthy people leaving France. The Popular Front also want to make a series of institutional changes, including establishing proportional representation, repealing Constitutional Article 49.3, which is used to force government bills through Parliament, introducing a citizen initiative referendum, and convening a citizens' assembly to establish the Sixth Republic. As for foreign policy, this has always been the main area of contention for the French left, and contributed to the downfall of the NUPES, the Popular Front's predecessor. In particular, there have always been divisions between the far left and centre left on support for Ukraine. And the final nail in the noop's coffin was the refusal by Jean-Luc Mélenchon and his France Unbowed party to label Hamas as terrorists after October 7th. However, the Popular Front has managed to paper over these cracks in its manifesto by committing to unwaveringly defend the sovereignty and freedom of the Ukrainian people, as well as the integrity of its borders, in particular through the delivery of necessary weapons. On Israel-Gaza, the Popular Front also called for an immediate ceasefire and the release of hostages held by the, quote, Hamas terrorists whose theocratic project we reject. It also supports the International Criminal Court's prosecution of the Hamas leaders and Benjamin Netanyahu, the immediate recognition of the State of Palestine, and a ban on arms deliveries to Israel. The Popular Front also pledges to fight against anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and all forms of racism. On asylum and immigration, the Popular Front wants to repeal Macron's stricter asylum and immigration laws, establish a rescue agency at sea and on land, provide social support and authorize asylum seekers to work, create a climate displaced status, establish a 10-year residence permit as standard, facilitate access to visas, and create legal and secure immigration pathways. Now, it's worth mentioning that both the National Rally and Popular Front have put forward plans that would involve a lot of spending, something that spooked the markets, and is a key attack line used by Macron's alliance against both sides. If you want to learn more about this, you can check out our recent video on the subject, which is linked in the description. As for Macron's governing ensemble alliance, they are obviously campaigning on continuing their agenda, so there aren't really any big dramatic pledges like the other camps have made. However, Macron and his team have still set out a number of policies and pledges that are worth noting. Firstly, he's promised to reduce illegal immigration, respond with more firmness to the rise in violence by minors, open a major debate on secularism, and propose prohibiting the use of mobile phones before the age of 11 and access to social networks before the age of 15. He also wants to build 8 new nuclear reactors, continue indexing pensions to inflation, extend the so-called Macron bonuses, which will allow employers to pay employees bonuses of up to €10,000 per year tax-free, and remove a level from France's territorial structure. More generally, Macron doesn't want to raise taxes, preferring instead to cut spending, and he's so far framed his campaign as one of defending the values of the Republic against the extremes of the left and the right. So that hopefully gets you up to speed with what the main political camps want to do, but it's worth remembering that the polls indicate a hung parliament, with the National Rally as the largest party and Popular Front as the second. So it will likely be incredibly difficult for the next government, whoever forms it, to actually enact their policies without a hell of a lot of negotiation, compromise, concession, and politicking. A week or so ago, we announced that we're working on a physical magazine which dives deep into the upcoming UK general election. But it turns out that designing a magazine isn't all that easy. So I headed to Skillshare to take a look through some of their design courses, including the incredibly helpful course, How to Design a Magazine and Learn InDesign, which helped me to, do both things. This means that unlike when I tried to learn InDesign for another, never-released project a few years ago, I was guided through the process quickly and efficiently. And this time, the project will actually see the light of day, thanks to Skillshare's incredibly easy-to-follow guides. It's not just that either. You likely already know that Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives, with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, freelance, and more. But Skillshare can also help take your career or side hustle to the next level, with hundreds of career-focused classes too. That's courses on everything from how to start a business to maximizing your workflow, or even how to grow in e-commerce, another course that I used when building the website that sells the magazine. And the best news is the first 500 people to use the link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So get started today.